Hi friends, Andy here, and before I jump into this topic properly, I just want to make one thing very clear. Look, it's the internet, it's the year of our tugboat 2021. I know how titles like this one could be taken, and I also know how the internet can occasionally take a point, remove it from its context, and just completely blow it out of proportion. So I want to remove all doubt and eliminate any chance of that happening by saying this. I believe wholeheartedly, 100%, the AEW signing CM Punk is a complete no-brainer, perhaps the biggest no-brainer in company history. I just wanted to get that out of the way nice and early because, I mean, unless the guy demands $1 billion a year from Tony Khan, it's a deal AEW simply must do because the benefits are immense. But there are a couple of drawbacks to potentially signing CM Punk as well, and I'm going to talk about one of those specifically today. I'm Andy from What Culture Wrestling, and this is the problem with CM Punk that no one wants to talk about. AEW currently has a unique opportunity right in front of it. At no point in the company's future will they ever have the opportunity to sign two legitimately game-changing wrestlers, two of the most popular, iconic, and impactful wrestlers of their generation at once while they're still young enough to perform, which is exactly what they'll be doing if they get hold of CM Punk and Daniel Bryan. I'm going to talk about Bryan on a later video, so keep an eye out for that one on the channel over the coming days. But as far as Punk goes, I don't think there's anyone that AEW could realistically sign who would have such a pronounced beneficial impact on the company's business from day one. I mean, look, they're not going to go out there and sign Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. If you're looking at free agents, the top names there are Daniel Bryan, CM Punk, and Brock Lesnar. Brock's going back to WWE, and when you think of the buzz that someone's going to bring immediately, I think Punk edges Bryan out. In fact, I don't think he even edges him out. I think the difference is pretty damn big. And the main reason that CM Punk is going to generate such excitement and immediately make All Elite Wrestling a bigger deal from the moment he first shows up is because he is the perfect wrestler for this audience. Think about why AEW exists for a second there. It's because WWE has spent the best part of 20 years toxifying its relationship with its fans and driving off millions upon millions of regular viewers who feel that their wrestling needs just aren't being satisfied with what goes on Raw and SmackDown. Tony Khan recognized there was a space in the market for another American wrestling promotion, so he entered it. And while there's obviously a lot more that went into the creation of AEW and the environment that allowed it in the first place, Khan wanted to create an alternative. He wanted to create a product that spoke to those who'd been alienated by Vince McMahon's. And if you could please, for a moment, cast your minds back to the 27th of June 2011 and CM Punk's famous pipe bomb promo, aka the night when the problems that Punk raged about became part of WWE canon. Punk's iconic promo ended up changing more off-screen than on, because when you look at the modern WWE product and what it is today, a lot of the things he was talking about, from the stars of past eras being pushed to the detriment of potential stars of the current era, to John Laurinaitis, who he called a douchebag yes man, being in positions of power. These things are still there today, and a decade has elapsed. That's important to point out because while it would be extremely reductive to say that Punk was responsible for creating AEW, when you acknowledge the pipe bomb and acknowledge AEW's creation, Punk is part of that through line. He's part of the movement, and that's undeniable. Punk played a huge part in creating and sustaining the subculture that led to AEW's creation in the first place. He is part of the whole scene. This is a company created by people that think like him for people that think like him. So in a way, if he signs with AEW, he'll kind of be coming home. And I believe that there is more appetite among AEW fans for this wrestling return than any other that could realistically happen in the company in the near future. Now, part of this, obviously, is that Punk has been away so damn long. He last competed in January 2014. That's well over 7 years, and it's a cliche, I kind of hate to say it, but distance does indeed make the heart grow fonder. On top of this, he's obviously an extremely talented guy, a firebrand who has never been shy of saying what's on his mind. And of course, like I've already mentioned, the problems he skewered back then are still prevalent today. He's still extremely relevant, if not more so in 2021. And on top of this, when you sign Phil Brooks, you're not going to sign a guy who's going to half-ass it. If Punk is in, he is all the way in. Effort is not going to be a concern. And for a while at least, I believe that merely signing CM Punk will boost AEW's attendances, pop nice television ratings, and keep the company in the news cycle at the very top. Because the devotion this guy inspires in his fans, many of which are currently found in AEW's audience, is ridiculous. It's huge. Now, one argument that people have brought up and tried to use to counter the idea that Punk is going to spike AEW's business is that the guy wasn't necessarily a particularly well-drawing champion in WWE. That's true. That's very true indeed. But I don't think that's going to be a concern here. It's a different type of fan we're looking at now. Many people in AEW's audience will have grown up with CM Punk as their pro wrestling idol. If their king returns to TV, they're gonna flock to it. I think we'll be okay. It's a different culture. And another potential issue is that, well, the guy's been away for the best part of a decade. How do we know that CM Punk is still going to be able to perform? That's very valid. I agree completely. We don't know and won't know until he steps in the ring. But that's something everyone's talking about, so let's just pick that up and place it on this shelf over here for now. Instead, my friends, this is the one problem with CM Punk that no one wants to talk about. Just think about how huge this is going to be. It's going to dominate wrestling news for a while. It's going to be colossal, godzillion. Is that even a word? If it isn't, I just made it up. It's going to be everywhere. It's going to overshadow every single thing in wrestling, at least for a period of time. And that could be a problem for one Hangman Page. AEW has spent the entirety of its existence meticulously plotting Hangman Page's rise to the top, from his initial inability to win the World Championship while working with Chris Jericho, to his struggles with anxiety and self-doubt, to climbing the ranks of the tag division, falling all the way back down, then doing the same in the singles division, to where he is now as AEW's most prominent full-time folk hero. 2 years of hard, well-plotted, and extremely well-executed work is finally starting to pay off. It's a great story, one of the best in wrestling at the moment, and so many people are just gagging for Hangman Page to rise up and beat that dastardly Kenny Omega for the AEW World title. And a lot of people believe it'll happen at All Out 2021, the 5th of September, in CM Punk's hometown of Chicago, Illinois. So now you see the problem. Debuting CM Punk on the same show that Hangman Page is going to win the world title, or even within a few days, given that AEW's run of shows leading into All Out goes down in Chicago as well, is extremely risky. There is a huge cause for concern here, and this is the kind of problem that separates the good pro wrestling bookers from the bad. If Tony Khan is able to pull off both of these things so close to each other without Punk's debut potentially overshadowing everything he's done with Hangman Page, then he'll deserve all the credit in the world. But it's a very, very fine line. AEW have invested more into making Hangman a star than anyone else in the company. 2 years, like I said, they've put so much into this, building him up, tearing him back down, building him all the way up again, to the point where he can now believably beat Kenny Omega, become AEW World Champion, and produce what should be one of the most cathartic, emotional releases of the entire year. This should be potentially one of the biggest moments in AEW history. I mean, hell, there's every chance that it'll still be that. The fan base in AEW loves Adam Page, and rightly so. This has been extremely well done from start to finish. But CM Punk showing up, potentially in his hometown of Chicago, is going to be a massive test of that devotion. If AEW mess this up, there's a real chance that Page's big world title win is going to become a secondary concern. So yes, AEW should sign CM Punk. It's a no-brainer, like I said early on. There are just thousands, maybe even millions of people out there itching to see this guy getting back to doing what he does best. But AEW need to be very, very careful. They need to be more careful with this than anything else they've done before. If CM Punk and Daniel Bryan show up in the company and immediately take the buzz, the shine, the emotion out of this world title win that they have been working so diligently towards, then the past 2 years will have been for nothing. They will have been a complete waste. Here's hoping they can avoid that happening. And you know, I think they've got a good chance. This company, throw whatever kind of complaints you want at it, objectively, from a long-term booking standpoint, they've done a very, very good job. Guys like Hangman Page, guys like Darby Allin, guys like Sammy Guevara, they've created stars. They're not, you know, the Rock, John Cena level stars, but that's impossible at the level they're operating at. Maybe stuff like that will come in the future, but they've done a great job with the young talent, and there's a lot of faith and a lot of trust in the booking process. It's earned. So here's hoping that the fans' devotion in Hangman Page stays true even when CM Punk shows up and pops the number of all numbers for AEW. Anyway guys, that's it. My take on the matter is done, and as always, I'm curious to know what you guys think, so go ahead and hit the comment section below, fire off some spicy hot takes, whatever you want to do. Just don't play this like Andy Murray thinks AEW shouldn't sign CM, but if you do that, I will get this pack of batteries and shove it clean up your nose. Okay, you can follow us on Twitter once you've done all that, at WhatCultureWWE, and you can follow myself as well at Andy H. Murray, where you can tell me how wrong I am. Goodbye.